Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, That's Friday Homeschool. My name is Mrs. T. We are officially halfway through the 2024 to 2025 school year, which is just crazy. I cannot believe we are already here. So it is now halfway through January. We are on track to finishing the school year end of May, early June timeframe-ish. So still doing okay. We started last week in August. So I would say we're doing pretty well, especially considering we had a little bit of a rough month in October that really had way more days off than we were expecting. But November, December, and now halfway through January, we are consistent. We are doing really well. We have implemented block schedule here in our homeschool to get us back on track, and it has been working beautifully. We have a really good routine now, and I'm very happy about it. So we have a preschooler and we have a kindergartner, and I wanted to today specifically review our original curriculum picks for these two children. So we're going to start with my preschooler, then we're going to hop over to my kindergartner, and I will link in the description the timestamp for both. So if you're only interested in one, you can just hop over to whatever child you'd like to see information on. So we're going to start with my preschooler, and we are going to start with, looks like, math. So my original curriculum pick video, which was, by the way, posted like 9-ish months ago or something like that. Yeah, let's go ahead and just review it. So we are going to start with math. And what I selected for math in that video was mathematical reasoning beginning level 1 and 2. And so far this has been a huge success. We have finished book 1 entirely. We are in the second half, actually closer to 3/4 of the way through beginning level 2 with my preschooler, and it's going really, really well. We like this program a lot, and we've used this program now with both of my children, older one and now younger one, and it just has been a really nice program. Now, something that we implemented for math that we were not expecting to implement is we actually have started Saxon Math Level K, which originally, when I acquired it, I was considering this for my older child, but the Level K was too low of a level for my kindergartner, and it is very gentle, very, very manipulative, heavy, in the sense of like you're pulling out those teddy bear counters and those pattern blocks and things like that very often. And I actually thought it'd be a good idea to start it with my younger child a little earlier, and he's been loving it. We're on like lesson 15 or something like that. So we're going to keep working through Saxon Math. I just started this not too long ago, but here we are. It's going well, and that was an unexpected win. So math is looking really good for my preschooler. The next subject that we have that I had picked curriculum for was phonics, and I selected Elemental Phonics Level 1 and Hooked on Phonics Level 1. And we have finished Hooked on Phonics Level 1. We're actually a little over the halfway mark on Hooked on Phonics Level 2, and that's going well. And we also are halfway, a little over halfway, through Elemental Phonics Level 1. So that is also quite successful. I used both of these programs. Well, Hooked on Phonics I kind of half used with my older child for these levels, and then Elemental Phonics was his primary as well at this age, and it's going well. My child is reading CVC words that are, short vowels and easy, like cat and hat and bag and things like that. He does still flip-flop things like his B's and his D's and his P's. He gets those kind of confused. But for the most part, he's doing so wonderful. His blending is amazing. We're doing phonetic flashcards almost every single day. And he's really getting it when it's in the flashcards. But when he sees them outside of the flashcards, sometimes he still mixes up those sounds. But he's doing wonderful. And he's not yet 4. So I'm like through the roof ecstatic that he is doing so well. So a win with our phonics selections. The next thing that we chose for my preschooler was we were looking at handwriting, and we selected the Explode the Code primer series, which are books A, B, and C. Now, at the beginning of the year, I did pull that out, and I was like, oh, my child is not quite ready for that. So we did go through an Evan Moore pre-K Skills Sharpener science book. We went through that, and that was actually really good. I was a little unexpected, but I felt like my child needed just some practice sitting. And pencil control. So that was a really good first step. But once we went through that book, I felt like, and we did a lot more like coloring and things like that at home, I felt like he was then ready for the Explode the Code Primer series. So we actually are on book A, and we're not quite halfway through it, but it is going well. We definitely will not get through books B and C in addition to A during this school year, but I could see us potentially finishing A and being in the midst of B by the end of the school year. But I do really like this Explode the Code Primer series. We've used it again with my older kid, and it's working well with kid number 2. So no complaints. I like it. It's working. All right, the next thing that we had mentioned is I really wanted to have a healthy living, like a wellness focus for my preschooler. And I had picked 4 different things that I was considering leveraging at the time. It was a Healthy Habits for Life, like PDF, Sesame Workshop. There's like this kids health and this health powered kids thing. And I will say a lot of that has been more or less scrapped because we are still going to be doing that Sesame Workshop. We haven't done it yet, but I have a time that we are going to be doing that here in the spring. But the reason why I scrapped it is I felt like having a curriculum at this point for it was a little bit over the top. We have a health and wellness curriculum that we are using with my kindergartner that my preschooler does occasionally sit on and he listens to. But for the most part, we've really been focusing on some healthy habits with him through example rather than instruction. So for example, when we brush our teeth, we do certain things, or when we wash our hands, we do certain things. We're showing how important it is to eat healthy by eating healthy. You know, we're showing how important it is to move by getting outside and moving. So we decided to kind of pivot our original thinking where we weren't really going to be focusing on a curriculum, more so like, but rather we were going to instead focus on doing. So learn by doing rather than learn by instruction. All right, and then the other thing that I mentioned in my original preschool curriculum pick video is Layers of Learning. This is a really lovely curriculum piece that has like these discussions about and conversations about like diverse literature. And we have pulled in those books pretty intentionally that are called out here, but we're not using this curriculum, and we had no intention originally of using this curriculum as a curriculum for my preschooler, but he is getting some good exposure to diverse literature. Our kids' library has also been amazing with upping their diverse literature collection. So we have been consuming a lot of just different styles of books that have been really wonderful. So that has been going well. And the last thing that I mentioned for him is preschool or Prodigy's music lessons, which is like a Bell series. I'll link my review description or my review video of this program below, but we're using it. We use it often. My kid loves it. He's doing great. He's doing great with his bells. So that's basically preschool. Curriculum wise, actually, we're pretty on point, minus that health. But I'm really, really happy with our selections. I think we made the right choices for my preschooler. All right, let's go ahead now and talk about kindergartner because he had a lot more involved. So we're going to start with math. I mentioned a couple of things. I'm just going to go piece by piece. So the first one is mathematical reasoning level A. We are still using it. We are like 2/3 the way through this program right now, and it's going really well. No complaints. My kid this is the 3rd mathematical reasoning book that he's used, and it's a win. So that's great. The next one that I mentioned is Schiller Learning Math at Home, Math Kit 1. This is something we've had now for a couple of years, and we are using it, but it is not our primary math. I kind of made this as a component of a later block that we do at least once a week. Well, usually once a week, I'll say. Usually once a week. And so we're going through it at a much slower rate, but we are enjoying this program. I do think, like, looking at it now, it's not the most successful math that we have, but there's a uniqueness to this curriculum that I do enjoy. My child does enjoy. But I don't think that we would have selected this, knowing what we know now. If I were to pick again, I would not have purchased Schiller Learning Math at Home. It's good and we're enjoying it. I'm definitely glad I got it when I bought it because it's a lot more expensive now. but I do think we are using it because I had it. We're not using it because it is making us thrive currently. But yeah, Schiller Learning Math at Home, still using it. The next one that I mentioned was Matthew C. Primer. We are using that. Actually, that is our primary math that we are using, and we are at the very end of this. So we are going to be finishing that one here pretty shortly, which is exciting. My child is doing absolutely wonderfully with this program, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next level, which we will be doing with him after this one is completed. So there's that. Next one that I had mentioned for math is Saxon Math K. As you might have picked up from my preschool, we actually shifted, this was way below my kindergartner's level, so I actually shifted that more toward my preschooler. So I removed that from our list here and I gave that to child number 2. So Saxon Math K was not a success. It was just the wrong level for my child. So lesson learned. All right, so one thing I did not mention that we ended up implementing is recently Math with Confidence Kindergarten. So we are not using it right now as intended. I really needed my child to have a little bit more guided tracing number practice, and I thought that the daily practice would be very helpful. So right now we are Math UC is still our primary, and we're going through that, and each day we do one single sheet in Math with Confidence. Well, the way that this is going to work out is by the time we finish Math UC Primer, we will be at like lesson 8 or something, sheet-wise in Math with Confidence. And before we go on to our next one, Math with Confidence is actually going to become our primary math. And now we will start using it the way it is intended to use, which is perfect because around that lesson is when we're starting to get into, you know, concepts beyond basic like number recognition and understanding the concept of certain numbers, basic addition, because he has those concepts. So I'm really excited for like this lesson 8 and above. We'll really focus on Math with Confidence at that point. So that was not in our original pick, but we did add that. Now there were 3 other things that we mentioned in my original pick for math, which is kind of crazy. I look back now, I'm like, oh, I did way too much. But Life with Fred, or no, what is it called? Life of Fred Apples. We are actually going through that right now. We have read halfway through the book previously, and then my child, we took a pause, and then he was like, can we restart that one? So we're on chapter 4 right now. We just finished chapter 3. So we're on chapter 4 of Life of Fred Apples, and we are enjoying it. It's very silly, but my kindergartner does really like it. The other thing that I had mentioned are Math Start books. We do have a collection at our library. We have some here at home, and we do read those. I don't specifically pick them up to like match with what we are doing with math, but we are consuming them, and they've been a good additional resource for math. And the last thing I mentioned are these math games from Moffat Girls, from Teacher Pay Teachers. And frankly, you guys, and when I was starting to create this video, like preparing for this video, I totally forgot about these, which is terrible. So no, we haven't been using them. I don't even have a valid reason, except I think I just got too much on our plate, and that was the first thing to fall off. So I don't know. Nothing else to say about that at this point. Okay, let's talk about language arts for my kindergartner here. So the first thing I'd mentioned was handwriting. We talked about the Writing for Learning series manuscript book, the first one, which is like a pre-K kindergarten level, which we did successfully finish, and my kid loved it. It was the perfect quantity. We did like 1 page per day, and it was absolutely perfect for my kid. I loved how it deconstructed the writing. I saw a big improvement with his writing using this program. Now, the original intention was after finishing this, we were going to hop into Getty to Bay level A. Now, I had Getty to Bay level A in my hand, and we were considering starting that like the original plan, but I thought my child wasn't quite there yet. I thought he could use a little bit more practice. So I actually ended up buying the Writing for Learning series book 2, which is meant for the kindergarten level. And I think like seeing the differences between that book and Getty to Bay, I think we'll still do Getty to Bay, but we just needed additional practice before we got to that piece of curriculum. So that was totally fine, is what it is. But yeah, we haven't started Getty to Bay yet. Now for phonics, I mentioned 3 pieces of curriculum, all about reading level 1, which we are using. We love it. We're on like lesson 24 or 25. So we are over halfway. No, we're almost halfway because there are 53 lessons. So we're doing really well with phonics from that program. I mentioned Explode the Code level A, not A, 1, book 1, and that's going really well as well. We do daily progress on that, but we don't always do one sheet. I didn't want to overdo it with my kids. So we do usually just a bit of a page or a whole page if it's not too writing intensive. I wanted him to practice. I wanted that exposure, and it's working really well. And at the rate we're going, we should be finishing it by the end of the year, which is wonderful. And the other thing I mentioned are daily word ladders, and we just haven't had time. It looks like a really great resource. I still want to use it, but we haven't gotten around to it yet. My kid is very game oriented, so I think, and puzzle oriented, so I think he will really love them still. So I'm not taking it off the board, but we just haven't gotten to it because finding our style and our groove has been a little bit challenging so far with this first half of the year. So just haven't gotten around to it yet. I mentioned novel studies. I said that we were going to be pulling a collection of different novels, which I actually have some over here and here, these smaller ones in the front. And we were going to be using our book guides from Blossom and Root level 0. We were going to use Book Shark level A and Build Your Library level 0. Okay, so let's talk about Blossom and Root level 0. I love the book suggestions, and we are still reading those book suggestions that came from that curriculum, but I just don't feel like I need the Blossom and Root guide. It is just not what I was looking for. They have like these sheets that go along with the books that, because we're already doing handwriting and we already are having these really nice discussions kind of naturally while we read, they felt a little bit unnecessary given the other things that we are doing. So I haven't been really focusing on Blossom and Root. In fact, I started to use it for my father's dragon over here. And then I just decided it wasn't really, like, I stopped partway through and I felt like we had really fulfilling discussions without that guide at this point in time. I mean, my kid's in kindergarten, so how crazy can it get? But I really, I would say I kind of abandoned this one. It felt like it was too much extra work. Now, Book Shark level A, we did pull a couple of our resources, and one example would be like Anna Hibiscus came from there. And I do like this guide a lot better. We're actually just about to start the Boxcar Children book, which is from like week 1. I think that's the first book that we do in Book Shark, and we will be using the Book Shark guide because they do highlight vocabulary that's worth discussing, and I think that's very helpful, as well as they have a pacing guide, and their discussion questions I have enjoyed a little bit more. I think they're a little bit, they're meant to be things you just discuss as opposed to like busy work that you give to your kids or like worksheets. So that's more along the lines of what I was hoping to do, and I do like that one. And then Build Your Library. So I had intended to use Build Your Library in its whole, and we have not continued with Build Your Library. I used the guide here for the very, very far north, but that program itself, again, given all the other components that we were using, it kind of felt a little overkill, and it just wasn't what I was looking for at this point in time. So we do have a couple, like we have this book here, The Year of the Dog, for example, and what is this? Audrey of the Outback. Those are also in Build Your Library level 0. I will still pull out that guide and I will still use that to help guide me through the novel for pacing and conversations, but we aren't using the other components right now. And I don't know if we'll ever go back to it. I kind of hope that we do, but at this point in time, it's not right for this season, and that's okay. That's okay. Not the greatest, though. I also talked about some picture book studies. So I talked about Jacob's Ladder. This is for K through 1. We went through this for a decent amount of our homeschooling so far this year, but it's not my kid's favorite, and it's not my favorite either. It does feel a little bit overkill with the comprehension side of things for my child's age. So I decided like we're having good conversations, but if that felt like school, yeah, versus like sitting down reading picture books and having like more natural conversations about it, it doesn't really always, that doesn't feel like school. That just feels like fun reading time. So having that book there, I don't know, it just wasn't the best fit right now. So we are planning on circling back to Jacob's Ladder. I think the content is really good, but I actually think it'd be better for a little bit older. So I'm considering maybe for first grade, like keeping this on the radar, or potentially even second grade. I don't know. I'm kind of making it more independent evaluation. I know it's meant for K through 1, but I think circling back later will be more beneficial. Now, and one that is working really well is Exploring the World Through Story Level A. This one we love, you guys. We love this curriculum. The readings are fast. The guide is great. The memory work is working. My kids are starting to, they know a lot of the stuff that we have been kind of focusing on. And it's going really, really well. I love this program. And I can tell you right now, we definitely want to move into level B when we finish with level A. It is really good, and we're really enjoying that so far. I had also mentioned, because that's not enough, I also mentioned layers of learning as well. And originally we started with the discussion questions, but I decided to kind of take a step back, and I'd rather these be family conversations, and my preschooler's not ready for it yet. So I decided we are exposing both of my children to the literature from this program, but I decided to table it to a point where both kids are a little bit older, so we can start having these deeper family conversations as opposed to like these one-on-one with my kindergartner. It didn't seem quite the right time for both of my children. So I want to wait on that one just a hair. We'll probably circle back to it when my second one is in kindergarten, which would be like kindergarten and second grade. So yeah, we'll probably get back to those conversations, but the literature is great in it. And I'm still really glad that we picked up that resource. All right, and then the last thing that we picked up for language arts was The Adventures of Molly and Keela. This is a secular virtues book, and we are going through it. We do really like that book, and I have no complaints. We've had some really good conversations, and we're just going to make our way casually through it. We're not going through it every single week, and we're not going through it in the way that I originally planned, but we have actually been consuming it pretty frequently, and both of my kids have been actively involved in those conversations, so that's actually been really enjoyable. We like that book. Okay, let's go to social studies. I talked about Build Your Library as our social studies pick. Number 1, we know where we are with that one. That one's been tabled. The other thing I talked about was Core Knowledge Level K, their history and geography. And that's a 4-unit selection on there, and we love it. We're halfway through. We finished book 2, and we're really enjoying it. So we're just about to start the, I think it's like Exploring America's unit, I believe is what it is, but we haven't started it yet, and we are really, really enjoying their history and geography. In fact, we loved it so much that really affected our science, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But before we talk about science, let's talk about the arts. So I had mentioned Blossom and Root Early Years Volume 1 for some guide to artists and art, and we had tried that the year before. It's just not for us. So we did a couple of projects through there. It's not for us. I don't think I'm a Blossom and Root fan, you guys. I think that's what it boils down to. I bought it all as a big bundle because I thought I'd love it, and I just don't. And so it's not fun for me to teach. It seems to hop around. It feels random. It's just not for me. So we did stop that one, and we picked up a different book called Artistic Pursuits not too long ago. We finished the very first art project, and my kids, we've done it now like 3 times, and my kids loved that first lesson. So that was not in my original pick video, but we have been enjoying that one so far. The other thing that I mentioned is music. Prodigy's music we're still doing, and then I mentioned Piano Adventures and Alfred Basic for young beginners, and those 2 were originally things we were going to be doing at home because they were also using it with my child at his piano lessons. And we're still doing piano lessons, but those two pieces of resources, the piano adventures he finished, and that went well, but we didn't really do very much of that at home. They're now using what's called Musical Journey, I think. I'll put it here on the screen. And he's doing really well with that. But again, we practice some of those songs at home, but we're not doing that instruction here at home. And we haven't really done any of the Alfred basic piano for beginners. Mostly just because we haven't really had time, and the stuff he's doing with his instructor as piano teacher is going really well. So we're not changing that up, but I don't want to overdo it. He really likes playing piano, but I don't want to like turn it into, all right, here's your piano additional lesson time. I don't want it to be something he doesn't enjoy. So anyway, that's piano and art. All right, science. So we picked Building Foundations of Scientific Understanding and Early Elementary Science Education as the guide for that. And we did go through a number of weeks with this, but I was not prepared for it in the way that I thought I was. And it came to a point where, as we were going through core knowledge, history, and geography, I was like, I just want something easy like this. And then I decided to take a look at their science curriculum. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. That's more of where I needed for the moment. So we have just recently started the kindergarten science units, and there are more than 4. I think they're like 6 units or something like that. And so we're a little behind as if we were to compare it to us starting it at the beginning of the year. But we are going to circle back to BFSU. I just need to prepare for it better. So I need to put that on myself to be ready for those explanations and the exploration of those topics. So we will get back to it. Next one was Project Learning Tree Environmental Education Activity Guide. We are using it. We are enjoying it. 10 out of 10, would buy again. Okay, next one that I had talked about that we had selected was Blossom and Root Nature from Level 0. Again, I'm sure you know what I'm going to say. We have not really been using it. We used like the first 3 or 4 weeks, but then it was just not what we were looking for. And again, my thoughts on Blossom and Root wasn't the right fit. So that one we have passed on. All right, next thing I had mentioned is Studies Weekly. They have a health and wellness for level K, and we have been using it and we like it. We haven't used it every single week. And we haven't there's like an online portion that comes with the program. We haven't used that at all, and I have no intention of using that. We're just reading the little magazine flip throughs that you get, and I really do like those, and I do think we will probably continue with Studies Weekly for health and wellness. And they talk about mental health, they talk about kindness, they talk about taking care of your body, and they're small, short readings. They come with activities if you want to expand upon it. But at this point in time, we kind of read them and then we connect them to other things that we're reading about. We do watch some little videos that connect to them, and we do have some guided discussions and activities from the program itself. But I think that it's been a really good addition, and I'm really glad that we're talking about health. And it doesn't take too much time. It's very fast. The program, you can definitely beef it up if you wanted to. They have a lot of things that you can do in Studies Weekly. So we're not using it all, but what we're using is working really, really well for both of my kids, honestly. All right, the other thing that I had mentioned, and this is the last thing that I mentioned for science, is the Advocates for Youth 3Rs program, which I intend to use at the end of Studies Weekly, Level K. So this is still on our docket, but we knew we weren't going to get to it until the end of the year. So that's that. Okay, last thing. This is such a long video. Is French. We are using the Lelustique program, which was our curriculum pick for French with my kindergartner, and it was very successful. We are loving it. We are also, though, moving a lot slower through this program than I thought we were going to use or move through it. We have done over and over again a number of the listening practice activities. I've definitely found that like a one and done activity is not the right fit for us because we're not fully immersed in the language. It is something that we are doing as like a school subject. So it's taking us significantly slower than I thought it was going to take. So we only are on Unit 2, which is like a handful of lessons in, but we have been very thorough with our first unit, and they're getting those concepts pretty well. So that's going really well. I love the Les Loustiques program. Like, that was definitely the right choice. Definitely the right choice. I had also mentioned that we were going to be doing song studies from Cocomelon, which we have done, but I haven't like had him memorize vocabulary in the same way that I thought we were going to with the song studies. So we've been listening to them, we've been watching them, and then I've been highlighting certain words, and we've kind of have been discussing those. But for the most part, it's not quite as intensive as I thought it was going to be with our vocab acquisition, but it's a really good exposure, and we are still doing that. We also added in Muzzies. We're watching Muzzy in French, and we do also watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse in French as well, as some just really good listening practice. I had mentioned workbooks, and we're still working through those workbooks. We have Samuel Julie, and then we also have Mon Cahier. We are doing both of those, but they feel a little bit unneeded, especially with how deep we're going into Les Loustiques, but we are still using them, and we have them, no complaints. It's just, not necessary, I don't think. And then the last thing that I had talked about is we were going to have a book of the year, which was Petit Prince. And we have not started that one yet. It is still my intention, but because we started going slowly through Les Loustiques, I really wanted to make sure that we were not overdoing it with French. So I have a feeling that the audiobook of the year is going to come a little bit later, if not next year, just because I really want us to not get too distracted from Les Loustiques. And I feel like if I keep pulling in things, it will distract us from our main French curriculum, which is working well. Whew, that's it. That is it, everyone. That is our mid-year curriculum review. A couple of changes, a couple of things that we have canceled and just we're not doing, but for the most part, you guys, I would say very successful using the stuff that we have, being consistent with the stuff that we have. So that is pretty good. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you later. You guys have a good day. Bye, everyone.